Good morning and welcome. We're down in the Findhorn Bay. It's Wednesday, the 19th of April. There I am. I don't think it can be spotted, but in the distance are hills still topped with a little bit of snow. But the sun is warm. The birds are sitting on the water over there. And the sky is magnificently blue and cloud-free. We are really having a very, very special week of great weather. It's not the same all over the place, but for some reason or other, we are being blessed with this weather. And this place is a great place to come and sit and walk and bird watch and contemplate. It's just across the road from the 39 Engineer Regiment. This is the road. That's the road down to Findhorn Village, which is down at the bottom there. You can all perhaps catch some of the colour of the gorse, and we'll be walking closer to it, so you'll see the yellow blossoms. And I mentioned in another message once that they smell like coconut. So that's really just an extraordinary thing, to be walking along in the Scottish, northeast and smelling coconut, when you feel that it is something that you smell either on Durban Beach because of all the coconuts, oil, tanning oil, that's what it's called. Yes, and or maybe in the Caribbean somewhere, but that's not where we are, although it can look as exquisite. This is a little bird hide, or no, it's a pavilion, I think they call it. There's a bird hide, it's further down, but just a little pavilion where people can come and sit. And Tom Brown's cabin. This cabin is being repaired in memory of Tom Brown, who was instrumental in erecting the cabin for the use of local people. Please use the cabin and enjoy it. It would be appreciated if any cans and bottles could be removed. It would be very much appreciated if the structure remained undamaged for the enjoyment of all. So here we go. And it is in good condition at the moment. We've been here when it's been a little bit vandalized, and the grounds out there has been littered with bottles and cans, but today it's looking pristine, as is our beautiful environment out there. So today I was listening to a couple of things on UK Column. Colin and I had a wee catch up, and whilst we absolutely salute UK Column for being an honest news outlet, what I did recognise, and it's got nothing to do with the people telling the thing, is I recognised something that really caused me to feel a little bit, just a bit disturbed in my spirit. And that was at how easily as humans we're pitted against each other. And there's one of these little stories that goes around that says, if you've got a jar of ants, red ants and black ants, and they're in a jar together, they're just going about being ants, doing ant things. But if somebody shakes the jar, they start a war, really. They start fighting each other. And it seems to me that that's so much of what's happening in our world today. We're being made to fight each other on every single front you can think of. I watched footage of we watched footage of a helicopter being shot down in Sudan, and then discovering that Chatham House has got something to do with the conflict in Sudan. And as somebody who comes from Zimbabwe, formerly Rhodesia, I realized just how powerful and, quite frankly, I think it's wrong, from my little perspective of everything, that foreign governments get involved in other nations and their issues. We see it happening across in Eastern Europe, where there is what for many people see as a proxy war being waged. It happened in Iraq, Afghanistan. It's happened all over the world. And I just think that, I suppose I don't believe that there really is such a thing as democracy, and I'm not looking for an argument on that. I don't want to debate anything. I'm so beyond having, trying to make my opinion understood, known and accepted, that I just am interested in walking this earth as gently as I can, respecting all people, loving. Love is such a misunderstood thing. I know that. We all do. None of us truly understand it. We have our personal definitions, understandings, concepts, perceptions, etc., etc. But love is just so much more than we could possibly conceive. And so I suppose that's what I want to kind of spend the rest of my life doing, is learning more about how to love well, how to love all people without having to, without considering anything beforehand, just loving them and dealing fairly with all people. Yeah, now we don't get it right all the time, but I do think that there's a place for that to be our underlying fundamental ethos. My worldview. I'm going to try and read something. Oh, there I am. Hi. Oh, I'm not going to be able to, because once I go off here, it'll click off the video. But I think I might try and post it. And it, alongside this video. And perhaps it'll help to explain a little bit of what I'm trying to talk about now. I just think that life's really short. Whether you get your year, 3 years, 30 years, 70 years, 103 years. See, my maternal grandmother died just short of 104th birthday. My dad died just last year at 81. My mum is 76 and has her health issues which are limiting her life. And you hear of people who are dying in their 20s and 30s now. Hundreds, thousands and thousands of them. Athletes dying on football fields, and teenagers dying from cardiac issues. Never heard the likes. Life's really short. So whatever we have of this life to live, we should live it well. I shared with somebody recently, they live in South Africa and they've got cancer, and they posted about their illness and their situation, their circumstances, which are difficult, very challenging. And I sent a private message to this person. I haven't met them personally, but I just so appreciated their transparency and their realness, their authenticity in the message. And whilst I can't offer any great words of anything, I did say that the one thing I could perhaps suggest is to keep really short accounts with people. Don't hold on to negative thinking. Don't hold on to unforgiveness. Don't hold on to anger and bitterness. And don't hold a grudge. Don't try and get revenge. Don't want bad things to happen to other people. You know, there's a there's a chapter and there's verses in the Bible that say that these are the things we should think on, things that are good and true, noble, just, admirable, lovely, praiseworthy, excellent. These are the things we should think on. That was a passage that I asked, years and years ago I used to have a real problem with my thought life. Many of us would identify with that, particularly women. But I remember asking Colin and saying, the battle's really in my head. That's where so much of it goes on. And that's where it really affects the way that I feel. It affects the way that I react and respond in life. And I asked him to help. I said, you, as my husband, I really need your help. Could you pray for me? And he did. And he prayed for me every single day. He asked to God what he should pray. And God gave him those few verses of scripture. And he started praying those for me every single day in the morning. And I started speaking those words over myself. And I found out that's how I found out that we can actually truly rewire our brain. By putting into practice what is good for me. So I recognized a long, long time ago that I am the guardian of my soul. I guard the input into my soul. And I understand my soul as my mind, my will, and my emotions. So I became really careful about I have become careful about what goes in or what stays in. So you know how you can have a thought sometimes and it's an errant thought, and it can be, maybe it's an unpleasant thought, maybe it's really ugly, maybe it's unkind, and you realize where did that come from? Now there used to be a time where you might have thought, or I might have thought, oh, I'm a really bad person for thinking that thought. Well, I don't anymore. Now I capture that thought. I bear it. I give it no mind. I actually separate it from me and I say, that's not who you are. That's not who I am. I am not that thought. And I am able to cast it from me. And sometimes we get these things in our heads called brainworms, which we call brainworms. And the way I get rid of a brainworm is I will just start to repeat something positive over it, something true, not just positive, something true. And that seems to work for me. I don't know if it would work for others, and I don't know if it's something that others need. It just worked for me. So I found out that we could actually rewire our thinking, rewire our brains. And of course then you go on and you learn all these things, because I then read a book by Caroline Leaf called How to Switch on Your Brain. Brilliant book. Absolutely fantastic. And it worked for me. Yeah. So I needed to come out today to enjoy a bit of nature, get away from, I don't know, I just suddenly saw how easily manipulated we are and how easy it is for, I think, the vast majority of people, myself included, to get sucked into a negative vortex. And Colin said to me, he said, we used to criticize people for living in a bubble and not interacting with, let's say, current affairs and global issues. It seems to me that when we've judged or criticized people for anything, we've had to become them to discover that we were the ones who had the faulty kind of perceptions at that time. I quite like this little bubble. It certainly brings me peace. And I hope that something of what I've shared with you helps, if you need it, to find a place to discover how to get out of what may be a negative space. Take captive every thought. Bring them into obedience. Think on these things that are good and true and noble and pure, righteous, holy, admirable, lovely, excellent, praiseworthy. Think on these things. Enjoy your day. Be blessed. And lots of love. Bye-bye.